All right. Now, he was politely received. I wouldn't say robustly applauded. The fact of the matter is he was entering the lion's den. He didn't seem to care much, but he is enticing foreign capital to come to the United States. And suddenly we are the cheaper tax draw, to say nothing of the big investment beacon. It seemed to be resonating with CEOs of companies representing about $500 billion in market value yesterday. Others could follow up on that. Let's get the read on all this to RealClearPolitics national political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns, the Wall Street Journal's James Freeman, and our own Charlie. I'm going to really watch what I say, Gasparino. All right. Charlie, what the president is saying is we are open for business. Come bring us your money.
By the way, that was a great speech, I thought. I think when Donald Trump is at his best, it's usually about the economy and talking.
He's in his element with that.
And, you know, I've been to Davos a lot. I choose not to go now.
The Davos, Switzerland, or the Davos, New York?
Is there a Davos, New York?
Yeah. Okay.
Where is that?
That's where I've done a lot of. That's where I've done a lot of reporting.
Okay. But anyway, it's a place filled with Euro quasi-socialist bureaucrats and some American CEOs. And I will tell you this:
great fondue,
horrible food. Except
also
for one place.
Some nonprofit beard strokers there.
Yeah.
But he's an elitist.
But listen, Neil, this is like quasi-socialism. That's where he was walking into, except for the U.S. CEOs. The U.S. CEOs are openly embracing him. They all boycotted his business councils, right, post-Charlottesville. They are all meeting with him now. Jamie Dimon, as we reported yesterday on your show, had a private meeting with him last week from J.P. Morgan Chase. Steve Schwartzman from Blackstone has been meeting with him lately. They know his policies are good. Most of his policies.
And they like making money.
Are good, and they like making money. And listen, we had a slowdown in GDP this quarter. Guess what? The tax cuts haven't kicked in yet. So I'm just telling you.
By the way, wasn't trade a big part of that? If not for the trade imbalance, I mean, that worsened it, right?
Well, because of the way they calculated, it doesn't mean imports really hurt us, but because of the way they want to avoid double counting things.
But some are worried that this could be something that drags future GDP numbers.
Obviously, the Trump trade agenda is a concern. Yes. That is potentially very anti-growth. I think some of the actual capitalists in Davos are concerned about that. I think they might have been a little reassured.
But you could put them in a phone booth. Where were they? I mean,
But
all the U.S. CEOs have
the GDP number. Look, the very good story there underneath the headline, which absolutely was disappointing, is 6.8% growth, non-residential fixed investment, businesses investing in the U.S. It's the same thing you're hearing from that crowd in Switzerland. This is now a place to invest that's going to lead to productivity growth going forward.
This is a president who campaigned, and the reason that there was so much focus on Davos was because he campaigned as this kind of populist entity. But, you know, a lot of his policies have been pretty traditionally Republican. I mean, he gave a lot of tax cuts to a lot of CEOs, and that's why they're very happy with him.
By the way, he just didn't give them tax. He gave them a curse of wealth and riches that they almost had to share. I mean, I'm not judging one way or the other, but they got so much out of this, so crazy much, that's why they're handing out bonuses. That's why you're seeing all these folks do this.
Right, and it's great PR for them, and for Republicans, it's certainly something to run on. Just talking to different economists, you know, they're still looking at how, when people get money back, whether they spend that money, that kind of shows, you know, whether people are going to be involved, and also whether that money does come back from overseas. I think that's still something that...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's the first time he's ever apologized.
I'm sorry about that. But, you know, listen, I'm optimistic about the tax plan, okay? And I'm optimistic about much of Trump's economic agenda. But I think we have to give a reality check out there, just because we have viewers that are buying this market. His trade agenda, hopefully, you know, his protectionism stuff, the anti-NAFTA stuff, is all rhetoric, because that's going to hurt the agricultural industry and a lot of other industries that needs NAFTA to grow. Okay, number two, the individual side of the tax cuts are pretty lousy, and he's actually raising taxes in a lot of states by just marginally.
Although a lot of individuals, ironically, are getting the benefit of the corporate without this individual.
Yes, but people that don't pay a lot of federal income taxes will get a small tax cut, while there are people in about 5 or 6 states that are going to get hosed. That's another thing. And the third thing I would just say is the tax cut for small business, which is generally the driver of economies, is pretty weak. And I would so usually big corporations, they move like they move like freighters, slow. I just worry that that Jamie Dimon and Blackstone and all these big companies, they may be handing out checks, but they're not going to be hiring in what people think.
Well, I don't know.
There are different indicators, though, on the personal side, right? I mean, wage growth has always been a real concern among a lot of people. And so that's, I think, is going to be one indicator. Just on the personal side, how people, just thinking about how people vote and how they respond to this.
But wouldn't these bonuses, I know it's a simplistic question, like a $1,000 bonus, $2,500 bonus, what you got in stock on, wouldn't that be reflected in a wage growth
Right.
figure?
And so if you are benefiting from that, if you work for one of those companies,
are they
getting
big
that,
or substantial enough to show up in those numbers?
Short term, absolutely. Long term, it's the growth in the economy,
right.
And it's whether you are one of these people who get bonuses, and it's more than 100 companies now. Starting next month, you're going to see more after-tax take-home pay. So I think this
now
is
that will depend on how much pay it is, right? Now, people have dismissed
who don't pay
the
a lot of taxes are going to get a tax cut.
Well, leaving aside how it was done and struck, I agree with that. But I think that's going to be more of an well, exactly. And I think that could be more of an economic boon. Whatever you think of the president, whatever you think of his tweeting, whatever you think of his all the other stuff, and these latest, conversations that he might have wanted to fire Mueller, it will be inconsequential to the bigger debate as to whether this significantly juices the economy. I'd say statistically it will. You say?
I think the political impact is the tax cuts. A lot of people don't realize they're going to get them. They're going to get them. Almost everybody is getting a tax cut. I think the big economic impact is going to be on the corporate side because the consumer is healthy. The consumer is already spending. Right. And it's that business investment rising that has been the story so far of the Trump era. And I think that's where you see the growth going forward.
I'm sorry, Caitlin, that has been the argument here, that this will have a pay-it-forward effect, that other companies will do it. We're seeing other examples of FedEx, the latest, of $3.2 billion in wage and other benefits. And that companies are trying to outshine the PR factor of this.
Yeah, I was going to say the PR factor is huge in this. Right?
And I don't care about their reason. You know what I'm saying? I understand.
Well, yeah, if you're getting,
but hey, if I'm a worker and I'm getting this, great.
In your pocket, you're not caring about the PR reason. But of course, there's always that incentive. But I think, just talking to voters, as I often do, it's the longer-term security factor, right? Do you feel like you can make better decisions now on because you feel more economically secure? I don't think that has been answered yet. But certainly, Republicans are hoping that these kinds of small things can make a difference and make people feel like they have more options to spend money. And who knows if that will happen.
But you know what I always look back at, and I know I'm a little simplistic, you guys are quite smart, but Charlie, I always prefer my boss to be happy. That's a rule of thumb. Yeah. And here's why, because when he or she is happy, they're more predisposed to do good things. And I like to think for me. And I like to think for the place I work. Some of them have been very stingy in the past with raises because they've had to be. They've been kind of regulated, to death and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, if that mentality changes, I suspect, and this is just a psychological thing, I suspect that will have an effect that will reverberate.
Yeah, it should. I'm just worried about a couple of things here. Listen, I look at what can get us to 3.5% growth. Okay, what could get a huge corporate tax cut helps you get to 3.5% growth. Also, what could have helped us get to 3.5% growth is real tax reform on the individual side, which really did not occur. I am telling you that people who don't pay a lot of federal income taxes are going to get a few bucks.
But I still think this is going to up growth.
It should. It should.
It should. It's going to up growth.
And here's one other thing, Neil, and just to be a little, listen, it's going to be good for stocks. I know that because most of the publicly traded companies are getting a huge tax cut. But small businesses really are not getting a big tax cut here. And I'm just saying.
I don't agree with that.
James? Some of the biggest cheerleaders for this plan were at National Federation of Independent Business. Their members telling them they've never been more optimistic. So. This is a good deal for them.
But they're not. It's not a great deal for them. If you look at the way the pass-throughs are working.
With all due respect, I think they've obviously looked at it pretty closely.
Okay, have you seen the individual on the small business side?
I understand in this town, among people in our industry, there is a lot of concern.
And the elite,
for most people, there is a tax cut coming, whether they realize it or not.
But if you talk about small businesses, let's stick to that. What is the real? Do you understand the tax cut on the small businesses? It's pretty marginal. They've crunched
numbers themselves.
It's very marginal.
No, but bottom line, they wouldn't be
better than nothing, but it's marginal.
No. They wouldn't be expanding. Believe me, I'm not an apologist or cheerleader.
No, you're talking about major corporations.
I'm talking about the guy who runs the local drugstore in my town. He is going to expand hiring. It's a small mom and pop operation. Then he's going to expand hiring.
Okay, then you know what? He misread the tax law.